Ukraine's anti-corruption agencies say they've uncovered large-scale bribery in the procurement of military equipment and said 4 suspects had been arrested. President Zelensky in his nightly address described such acts as absolutely immoral and thanked those involved in the investigation.
South Korea has begun dismantling loudspeakers used to broadcast information and music across the border to people in North Korea. It's part of a drive by South Korea's new president Lee Jae-myung to improve relations with Pyongyang. Extreme record-breaking weather has hit several countries in East Asia. There's been torrential rain in mainland China, Hong Kong and Taiwan, while Japan, Vietnam and South Korea are sweltering under intense heat waves.
50% US tariffs have come into force on a range of Brazilian goods, the steepest tariff so far imposed on any economy by the Trump administration. The duties will hit a number of key products, including coffee. Brazil is the world's largest coffee exporter.
President Trump has also told reporters that the tech giant Apple will invest an additional $100 billion in manufacturing in the US. Apple CEO Tim Cook, who was also present in the Oval Office, explained that the investment would focus on producing more components, including chips, in the US.
South Korea's military says North Korea has started taking down loudspeakers used to broadcast propaganda across the border. The move appears to be a positive reaction to overtures from the South Korean president.
The BBC understands that the American chipmakers Nvidia and AMD have agreed to pay the US government 15% of their revenues from chip sales to China. It's part of a deal to secure export licenses to the world's second biggest economy.
South Korea estimates that more than 50,000 North Korean labourers are being sent to Russia to work in slave-like conditions. Intelligence officials said Russia was increasingly reliant on North Korean labour. European leaders are due to hold a meeting with President Trump to try to convince him to consider Ukraine's interests at Friday's US-Russia talks in Alaska. It's part of a broader diplomatic effort to try to bolster support for Kyiv after Mr. Trump's repeated assertion land might be swapped in a peace deal.
The South Korean Supreme Court has dismissed an appeal by Jonathan Wright, an American composer, who claimed that producers of the global mega-hit children's song Baby Shark plagiarized his work.
President Trump has said that future talks on the war in Ukraine should focus on a full peace agreement rather than a ceasefire. He'll meet Ukraine's President Zelensky on Monday in the White House, after his summit with the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday ended without an agreement.
And the Swiss watchmaker Swatch has withdrawn advertisements featuring an Asian model pulling the corners of his eyes after facing a backlash in China. The slanted eye pose is considered racially offensive as it's used to mock the appearance of Asian people. The firm has issued an apology.
The North Korean leader Kim Jong-un says his country needs to rapidly expand its nuclear weapons capabilities. He described this week's US-South Korean military exercises as an obvious sign of hostility.
A study's found radio waves can be used to improve humans' sense of smell. South Korean researchers used a small antenna placed near the forehead to stimulate the olfactory nerves of 28 volunteers. A 5-minute session improved odour detection for more than a week.
Taiwan says it'll increase its defence spending by more than 20% next year to deter the threat from China. Beijing claims the democratically governed island as its own.
A man who'd been on the run for 5 years after allegedly orchestrating a multi-million-dollar cryptocurrency fraud has been arrested in South Korea. Police had initially stopped him for littering, but became suspicious with his behaviour. Syria is to devalue its struggling currency by reportedly dropping 2 zeros from its banknotes. The Syrian pound has lost 99% of its value since the start of the civil war in 2011.
Donald Trump has sacked a Federal Reserve governor for alleged fraud as he steps up attempts to exert control over the US central bank. Mr. Trump accused Lisa Cook of making false statements on mortgage agreements. Ms. Cook said the president had no authority to dismiss her.
A Korean-inspired animated movie about singing teenagers battling evil forces has become the most watched film ever on Netflix. K-pop Demon Hunters chronicles the adventures of a girl group.
China has announced that the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un will attend next week's military parade, marking 80 years since the end of the Second World War. He'll be one of 26 leaders in Beijing, alongside President Putin. Mr. Kim rarely leaves North Korea.
시청해 주셔서 감사합니다. 다음 시간에 뵙겠습니다.